Welcome back, everybody, to Just Keep Parenting. Glad you could join us today. We're going to be talking about resilience, right? If you follow me on Facebook, which is Miss Dory's BYU Preschool Friends, I post a lot of things there about resilience and how do we help children build resilience, right, in themselves. We have a couple of kids this year who really struggle with that. The minute anything, goes wrong, if something breaks or if something comes off their paper, they're right 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. And so one of the things that's been on my mind as a teacher of young children and a trainer of teachers to help them figure out how to help these kids, right, is that we've got to be talking about this, right, and making sure that the teachers know what resilience is. I love this explanation. Resilience is the process of adapting well in the face of adversity. Research has shown that resilience is ordinary, not extraordinary. Resilience is not a trait that people either have or do not have. It involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that can be learned and developed in anyone. So as I think about 4 and 5-year-olds, who are kind of my specialty right now, one of the things that we do is we talk about we can do hard things. We use something when we don't get our way. Aw, shucks, maybe next time, right? We use creams, right? We had a child yesterday. We have a salon in our classroom for dramatic play. And so downstairs is the hair salon, and then upstairs is the nail salon. So we have nail artists that are upstairs, and they're always looking for customers. So I was helping a child out yesterday, and this little boy came down from the nail salon, and he said, "Miss Story, do you need your nails done?" I looked at him, I said, "Yes, they don't have any color on them." So I went upstairs, and he's continuing to paint my nails with watercolors and asking me what color I'd like. And this little girl was watching. She was another nail artist. And I said, "Hey, sweetie, do you want to go down and get somebody to come up to be a customer?" And she's like, "No, that's too scary, Miss Story." And I said, "Well, ask so-and-so how he did it." And he said, "I just went and I used my voice. I said, 'Do you need your nails done?'" And I said, "Does that make you a little nervous?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's kind of scary." And I said, "Well, we do have some courage cream. So why don't you go get some courage cream?" She's like, "Where is it?" I said, "It's down in the We Care Center." So she walked down there and she's like, "Which one is it?" I said, "It's the one with the superhero on it." So she went down there and got some courage cream and she's rubbing it in, right? Taking deep breaths. And she comes upstairs and she's like, "Miss Story, it didn't really work. I'm still kind of nervous." I said, "Well, maybe you need some nervous cream." "Oh, I don't know," she said. I said, "Well, I can help you. I can help you know what to say." And she's like, "Okay, what should I say?" I said, "Well, you just go down just like he did and say, 'Hey, I'm painting nails upstairs. Do you want your nails painted?'" "Yeah, but what if they say no?" I said, "Well, that means you go to somebody else because they don't really want their nails painted right now, and that's okay." "Oh, okay." Anyway, we had this 5-minute discussion, right, about resilience and what happens if somebody doesn't want their nails painted, and does that make me feel bad? And anyway, so I just really feel like this whole idea of teaching resilience to children is something that sometimes we forget to do as adults in their life, right? And so we need to create opportunities for students to correct their errors and build that understanding, right? We're all going to make errors. We're all going to make mistakes. I was talking with one of my teachers this week about a child that she's working with, and she said, "He's just so afraid of making a mistake. What do I do? How do I help him see?" And I said, "You make mistakes. You make mistakes right in front of him. And you say, 'Oh, I got to rewind because that didn't come out right, or I didn't do that right. So I got to try again,' right? Ah, shucks. Maybe next time I'm going to try again," right? So one of the things as we think about resilience in children, right, they've got to have learning experiences that increase resilience, right? For example, this little boy this week at the end of the day, he was sitting outside reading. A parent or a teacher was reading. We do that as they drop off, as they pick up. And anyway, he had made a lava monster. They had been problem solving to the floor is lava, which is something you can find on the internet. And they were trying to problem solve with all these different blocks and cans and swimming pools, swimming noodles, and they were trying to get out of the lava, right? Well, the next day they were making lava monsters, and he had made this monster, and it was really quite intricate. But when he sat outside, he sat on a piece of it, and it ripped it off, and he just, right? I'm just so mad. I'm going to rip this whole thing up. And I said, wait a minute. Take a deep breath, buddy, because we can fix this. I can show you how to fix it. Well, I don't want it. And I said, but you worked really hard on that, right? We're praising the efforts. You worked really hard on that. And it really is kind of amazing. You need to show your mom. So let's go inside and get some tape and we can fix it. So we walked inside, got some tape, right? And so helping them to have those experiences that there again increase resilience, right? And helping them go through it. So we have to provide resources, right? That's the first thing we have to do is help them provide resources. What kinds of things do we have in the house? What kinds of things do we have in the classroom to help them do that, right? Process charts, word walls, letter sound cards, and genders problem-solving attitudes, right? So we've got to have this problem-solving attitude. Quite often I will just say to the children, oh, that sounds like a problem. How are we going to solve that? Yeah, that's a really big problem. How are we going to solve that, right? We have these group meetings, but even in the group meetings, even without the group meetings, sometimes I'll say, your shoes are off, and in order for you to go outside, you have to have your shoes on. So how are you going to solve that problem, right? So just verbalizing problem, solution. I remember probably about 10 years ago, they were doing a research study here in the McKay School of Education, and they had grad students that would come in, and they were working with our students on, if this is the problem, then what is the solution? And just using that vocabulary. And I was amazed that year how many of the children were starting to use that. I got to solve this problem, Miss Story. I got to find some solutions, right? I don't typically hear that, but because we were using that verbiage so much, the kids were starting to say it a lot, right? And so they're starting to build that muscle memory with those words. The other thing that is important for us to do as we're planning learning experiences for this is to help children set goals, right? Yesterday there was a cute little girl, and she comes in quite often, and she's just a little bit indecisive as after she answers the question of the day, where to go, what to do, right? Because it's discovery time for them. And so I've created a choosing chair, and so we've talked about when she doesn't know what to do, she can sit in the choosing chair, and then she can kind of watch and see where she wants to go. So she and I had that conversation, and I said, so what we're going to do is when you figure out where you want to go, you're just going to get up and go to the center. And she's like, okay. So we've been doing this for I'd say 3 days now. Yesterday she walked in, I was doing question of the day, and I said, so you've got your name tag on, you've answered the question of the day, what are you going to do now? Do you want to sit in the choosing chair? And she's like, no, Miss Story, I know where I'm going. I said, wow, you don't even have to sit in the chair? Nope, I don't. I'm going to go over to the mosaics. And she pointed and went right over to the mosaics. I said to the teacher who was running the Mosaic Center, she decided that she was going to come see you today. She knew that before. She didn't have to sit in the choosing chair, right? So helping them make those goals. So we have this choosing chair. You can sit here until you decide. And so helping them make goals on what's going to be next, right? If you're in a classroom situation, right, writing. So numerals are really hard for you, sweetie. So let's look at how do we take this number and write it, right? And so this has a curved line in it and a straight line in it. So let's see if we can do that. And then by the end of the week, I bet you're going to be able to write the number 2 all by yourself, right? So setting those goals and talking about them, talking about personal things that you're doing that are hard for you and what you do to make goals, right? To get to those end places, which really isn't an end, but the next stepping stone. We have to value their effort. That's the third one that we want to think about, right? We have to value their effort and say, wow, you are working so hard on that. I can see that you're trying to do the straight lines and the curved lines. You've practiced the curved lines here. You've gone around and over, but valuing that effort that they put in, right? And not praising the outcome, but praising that effort that they're doing, right? The other thing that we have to do is offer strategies. Sometimes they don't know how to do it, right? It's yesterday in the nail salon. She didn't know what to say. And so we role played. I said, so what are you going to say to somebody? And she said, would you like to have your nails done? And I said, right. But if you don't say it, if you're not looking at them, they might not listen to you. So you have to look in their eyes and say, would you like to have your nails done? And so we practiced that together, right? So offering those strategies, practicing what to say, practicing. Many times we have different things for their numbers. Right now they're really struggling because the 4 and 5-year-olds' wrists aren't formed yet, right? They've still got a lot of cartilage in there. And so doing a lot of circular motions are difficult for them. And so we have lots of strategies or opportunities for them to practice that. We have rice, we have chocolate pudding, we have different shaving cream, different things that we bring out to have them practice as they're developing more motor coordination in their wrists. So as we think about that, right, the thing that I love in this article that I read this week is teaching children strategies that build resistance subtly reinforces the message that learning takes effort. Nothing comes easy. And so as we help them understand that as we learn things, as we make mistakes, we're learning, yep, I can't do it that way because they don't want to play with me when I come and screaming in at them. So I have to stop and I have to look in their eyes and I have to say, do you want to be my friend? I want to play with you today. I noticed you played on the slide. I want to play on the slide, right? So helping them there again with strategies, with words, and recognizing that learning takes effort. So as we think about this, the last thing that I'd like to have us do is recognize that we have to emphasize the process, right? Not the product, but we have to emphasize the process. Wow, you sat there for 10 minutes. The timer was on for 10 minutes, and you sat there and you worked on your numbers. Way to go. Kiss your brain. We use a lot of that, right? At the beginning there, we talked about how our brain is really working hard for us so that we can learn new things. And so sometimes it's nice to say thank you to our brain. And so emphasizing that process rather than the product can help our children figure out how to be more resilient in this, because life is hard. It's even hard for a 4-year-old. It's even hard for a 58-year-old, right? And we have to take a deep breath. Yesterday I had kind of a rough day with my university students. And one of the things that I said afterwards was, you know what, I was probably hangry today. So recognizing that in myself, I had a good friend that was kind of helping me figure out, why I was so grouchy. And she said, have you had any food? And I'm like, I haven't really had any today. So just recognizing that I have things within me to do to get better. As we help children understand that, especially from a young age, right? I love this quote in this article that I read. It says, nurturing this trait, speaking of resilience, at an early age is crucial to building lifelong learners. And I remember my mentor here at BYU, Gene Larson, talked a lot about being a lifelong learner. We're not just educating children. We are educating them to be lifelong learners, not until they just graduate from high school, not until they get a graduate degree, but lifelong learners. So what are you doing today in your life to educate lifelong learners, right? Whether they're 2, whether they're 4, whether they're 6 months, whether they're college, university students, we still need to treat them as lifelong learners and help with that resiliency. So here's to resiliency. Here's to us teaching resiliency and modeling resiliency in our lives as adults. Thanks for joining, everybody.